I think we all know that Jupiter is the best place to do swaps on Solana, if not all of crypto. But that's just one element of DeFi, swapping tokens. What about DeFi farming? Let's dive into this tutorial and let's talk about what is DeFi farming. So here we are at jupe.ag. We'll come up to the top to this logo and click Welcome to Solana. At this point, you've probably been here before. Let's get started. And we're going to scroll down past everything all the way to the bottom where it says Explore dApps. Now let's click on DeFi. Now, decentralized finance means there's actually quite a few different dApps in this category. So let's refine it a little bit further and go to liquidity. Liquidity refers to the amount of tokens in a market. The more liquidity something has, the better off it has. As an example, Bitcoin has a huge amount of liquidity, whereas the latest meme coin launched an hour ago has a very small amount of liquidity. Now, these are some of the dApps we can learn to do some farming. We're going to cover a couple of the easy ones here today, just as an overview. We'll go over Orca, Raydium, Cropper, Meteora, and although it's not actually here, it's back in this one, we'll go over Kamino Finance. So that you're certain that you're going to the correct dApp, click on the link right here to open up the website. However, I'm going to show you from Twitter. So this is at Raydium Protocol. This is the official Twitter. There's over 330,000 followers. And this is the link, raydium.io. It's the end of June 2024, and this is what the website looks like. This is V3, so it has gone through a couple of upgrades. Now, Raydium is an OG dApp on Solana. It was one of the first, it was one that I was playing with back in 2021, and right now it's primarily used for meme coin liquidity pools. They do have a token out already. If we click on max, we can see it went to quite some high back in 2021, up to $16, and then it went down really, really low to about 13 cents, and now it's $1.53. You can do your own research into the token yourself. So let's go through it. Now, of course, if you want to do actual swaps, you're best off going to Jupiter. You'll always get the best rates via Jupiter. But essentially, Raydium is a DEX. So it's a decentralized exchange, and Jupiter uses Raydium as a route quite often. You can do a swap here if you want to, but what I want to show you is liquidity. Remember, this is just an overview video, and we'll go into each of these in future tutorials. Essentially, when it comes to providing liquidity, you have to be very aware of impermanent loss. Understanding impermanent loss takes a little bit of time, so I've linked some great videos by Whiteboard Crypto on the subject. Go watch them if you're brand new to it. But I'll give you a 30-second rundown just now so you understand. So let's say you provided Solana and USDC into this liquidity pool. If I wanted to buy Solana, I'd go in with USDC, I would take some of your Solana, and you'd be left with a USDC. If I wanted to sell my Sol, I'll go and take your USDC, and you'd be left with Solana. Now, if we put $100 worth of Sol and $100 worth of USDC into this liquidity pool, and all of a sudden Solana went up in value by 5 times, your liquidity pool is unlikely to be worth that much more. So if you just held it, your Sol would be worth $500 and your USDC would be worth $100, so $600 in total. Whereas with impermanent loss, because it is actually generating some fees, maybe it's worth a couple of $100. It all depends on how fast things go up. So personally, when I do liquidity providing, my goal is always to outperform impermanent loss. But there's no way to know if we're going to do that, so we have to use our judgment. Anyway, back to the overview. So we have all these liquidity pools here. They have a decent amount of liquidity for some of them. Others have minimal amounts. There's the volume metric, so how many people are actually trading in or out of the asset. We can also see over here on the left, the actual fee. So if someone's going to be buying or selling Sol or USDC, they're paying this amount of a fee every time. Sometimes people will be routed through this liquidity pool and it has a lower rate. Then we've got fees generated in 24 hours. So this pool's done almost $13,000 in 24 hours. And we've got the annual percentage rate as calculated every 24 hours. So if you were to take this amount here and actually times it by 365 days, you would then have an APR, an annual percentage rate, that's about, for this pool, around about 150%. Now these amounts fluctuate all the time. This is one of the highest I've seen. And right now Solana's in a period where it's going up and down, just in this small little sideways movement, which means increased volume of trading, in my opinion. These liquidity pools are concentrated, which we'll go over in another tutorial, but we also have standard liquidity pools. This is where you're more likely to find your meme coins. These are some new meme coins like Water and NCAT and PopCat and Jason, but you'll find other tokens in here as well, like Bonk as an example. We have some Bonk Sol and some Bonk USDC. Not a lot of volume here and not a lot of fees. That's a quick overview of Raydium. Now what about Orca? Orca is also an OG crypto dApp. This is their Twitter, and orca.so is their website. So this is Orca's website. The user interface is a little bit older. If we come over to the left-hand side, click on this drop here, this takes us to pools. So these are liquidity pools. The way Orca works is very similar, if not basically the same as Raydium. The difference being they do not give you an annual percentage rate. What they do instead is they tell you the yield based on the TVL in 24-hour terms. So with SOL and USDC, this pool generated about 0.36% in 24 hours, which is quite substantial. We can of course change the yield like this. Normally we will see tokens that are meme coins at the top, such as these ones. And if we search by highest volume, this is where we see the bigger tokens, such as SOL and USDC, JITO-SOL as an example. We've got some WIF here as well, which is a meme coin. The next column is total value locked. So TVL means the total amount of value that's actually locked in the liquidity pool. So in this liquidity pool, there's almost $35 million worth of JITO-SOL and SOL combined. And then we've got fees over here. And this last one is rewards. Sometimes there are liquidity pools that give you extra rewards, such as if it's a brand new meme coin. So as an example with Samo and SOL, this is not a brand new meme coin, but it is a meme coin. It gives you extra rewards in the form of Samo tokens. Now Orca also has its own token. You're welcome to check out the technical analysis aspect of this token, but we can see that the all-time high was $20 and the all-time low was 35 cents. Next up, let's have a look at Meteora. So Meteora is from the same team behind Jupiter. Essentially, some of their team works on Jupiter and the other team works on Meteora. And now my understanding is they're basically split in two because there's just too much work for people to do both things. The link is meteora.ag, so let's click on this and then click go to the app. Now Meteora is a far more complex dApp. However, this has no token yet. And every time you're actually using this dApp and generating fees, you're actually earning MET points, which will convert at some stage into a token allocation. So although this is harder to use, this is my favorite app to actually use. We've got a couple of different places to go. Dynamic pools. Dynamic pools are very similar to the pools such as Orca and Raydium pools. We've got pools with farms. Pools with farm is similar to Orca or Raydium, where you actually get an extra token in addition to the rewards you're generating. So as an example, meme coins may want to allocate some of the meme coins to the project in order to give liquidity providing rewards. So here are some of these tokens here, and they're giving out extra rewards for people that provide liquidity. Then we've got a few other things such as liquid staking token pools, multi-token pools, but the main thing is DLMM. DLMM stands for Dynamic Liquidity Market Maker. This is by far the most advanced strategy that we have on Solana. Essentially, this will require its own tutorial, but this is where the vast majority of TVL is when it comes to Meteora. There's almost $100 million worth of total value locked here and a crazy amount of swap volume. The next place to use for DeFi is Kamino Finance. This is their Twitter and this is their dApp, Kamino.finance. Now, Kamino Finance does a lot of different things, not just liquidity. However, let's just go over liquidity for this tutorial. And here we can see all of the different liquidity farms. So how it works is you go and provide liquidity. So as an example, we can see all of the different decentralized exchanges. So maybe we wanted to be part of Meteora. That way we're getting some MET points as well. And we may want to go with Jupe and SOL. So if we go with Jupe and SOL, there's a very exact position that they're going to take. If we click here, analytics, and scroll on down, we can see they've taken a very specific range. And when needed, they rebalance out of that range, meaning they change the prices that they're willing to buy or sell at. They do this with everybody's liquidity in order to maximize the amount of money that they're actually generating in fees. You can see here the APY in blue and the fees that have been generated here as a line. So recently in June, the APY was very, very high, around 135%, and then it's dropped down and currently it's around 25% here or so. Kamino Finance also provides how the Kamino strategy has actually performed compared to just holding the assets. So as an example, this is over 30 days, and over 30 days, it's down a little bit. It's not doing terribly well. If we zoom out to say 90 days, we can see if the Kamino strategy was better than just holding Jupe. It was slightly better. Jupiter has lost value, therefore the strategy also lost value. And was it better than just holding SOL? No, it wasn't. Or was it better than holding both? No, it wasn't. So this is an example of impermanent loss. In my opinion, Kamino Finance is probably the easiest place to learn liquidity farming, but there's not a lot of degeneracy when it comes to meme coins and things like that. Not yet, anyway. The next app we'll quickly cover is Cropper Finance. So this is their Twitter and app.cropper.finance. Now, Cropper Finance has also been around for quite some time. This is their token. You can do your own research into the token. It's down significantly from its all-time high, and this is its all-time low. However, of course, you don't have to own the token for any of these dApps if you want to use them. So with Cropper, you may want to take a look at it. They have a points-based system that's currently running, and they do get some volume passing through, probably via Jupiter, but not as much volume as the other DEXs. Also, with the liquidity pools, they don't have as many as Raydium or Orca, and they tend to have just bigger ones, so Sol and USDC. You'll notice that some of these pools have a very small amount of liquidity. These are the pools to be ignored, so this one we wouldn't worry about this one. If we wanted to play on Cropper, we'd probably put our liquidity into this one here. So that's a brief overview of liquidity farming on Solana. We'll go over each of the dApps in another tutorial. But remember, DeFi farming requires quite a bit of learning. So of course, nothing is financial advice, but if you want to give these a go, maybe start with something small, maybe $10, $100, or whatever is small for you. Give it a go, hopefully you earn some fees and outperform in permanent loss. That's all for this video. Catch you in the next one.